Hi, welcome to my next video. This time I wanted to show you the next video in the series about making illustrations for Glico's Kobe chocolate. This is a series of Kobe themed illustrations that are used for the packaging of the chocolate and for special promotional materials like cards and postcards and posters, and all of the pictures painted with ink feature an interesting place from around Kobe. And this time we went to the Suma beach because I wanted to feature this small red cute lighthouse. And here you can see it in one of the promotional cards. And this picture is also used in a card that goes into a package of chocolates. So when you open a chocolate box, you have 4 types of cards that you can get, and this is one of them. Okay, so in my previous video I talked more about the commission itself and why I decided to accept it, that we went to Kobe, did the location hunting and looked for interesting places. I'm talking more about the whole process of making this commission happen, but in this part I would like to focus more on my approach to actually making the illustrations. So first, of course, as usual, I'm doing a sketch. So a rough image that I will use to decide the look of the illustration that I'm going for, and also I will send this to the advertising agency that actually commissioned me to do the illustrations, so they know what I'm aiming for and they can give me an okay, or they can ask for some changes to the picture. Here they asked me to make the sea a bit more prominent so we can actually see that we are on a beach. As usual, I'm making this rough drawing in Procreate, so on my iPad Pro, because this is what I like to use for digital drawing the most recently. But here I'm also using some color swatches that I made. The final piece will be made using only the Kobe inks, so fountain pen color inks that I got from the Kobe Ink Monogatari series. So I swatched them first, I painted with them on scrap piece of watercolor paper and scanned them so I can use the same colors when I'm doing the rough drawings in Procreate. I try to set up most of my color layers to multiply mode. I try to use the same color on separate layers, so a separate layer for red, a separate layer for blue, a separate layer for green, and then because the layers are set up to multiply mode, I can roughly simulate how the colors will behave if I decide to layer them one on top of another. So usually they get darker and the result is similar in real life, like you would use a multiplayer layer while painting digitally. Of course, the result is not perfect, but it gives me a good starting point, especially with a tool, with a medium that I'm not used to, and it works a bit different than the watercolors that I'm used to using. This is an idea that I had when I first wanted to try painting with Copic markers, and I wasn't used to using them either, so I tried to replicate the colors in Procreate so I can simulate how probably will they work on paper, and how the combinations of the colors will work on paper, and how the colors will look when I try to layer them. So this is a nice method, and making a swatch of your real colors and then using them digitally helps a lot to kind of get your head around a new tool that you have to use. Also, because I was aware of the colors and the color combinations while I was sketching digitally, I could predict what the painting process with the inks will look like, so already at the digital sketching stage I was planning what I will do with the inks. Thanks to this approach, the painting process with the actual inks was a bit easier, I think, that it would be if I just did a rough sketch like I usually do and paint everything like it was going to be painted with watercolors. So here, because I made everything just this bit simple and just used more flat colors, not mixed colors, wherever I could, and reduced the amount of layering the colors to minimum, and reduced the amount of complicated color transitions and mixing and diluting colors, I was then able to really closely recreate the sketches with the inks that I had. This meant, of course, changing a bit my style of painting to match the medium that I'm working in, but this is what I do usually. I paint differently depending on what medium I'm using, trying to play to its strengths and not to make stuff difficult for myself. so I would paint differently when I'm painting digitally, for example, or using acrylic gouache or poster colors or watercolors, or doing a drawing with ink, even if the theme, even if the contents of the drawing is the same. So for example, if I'm going to use poster colors or acrylic gouache, so opaque paints, I would be aware from the start of the painting, from the start point, that I have the ability to add opaque details, so I can paint bright white, for example, details on top of darker backgrounds. But here with the ink, I was aware that the strengths of the inks are really vivid colors, especially when I'm using them undiluted and unmixed. So wherever I could, I was trying to use the inks as they were in simple, not mixed, non-diluted washes. So of course the resulting style is different from my watercolor paintings. Okay, so after adding the lines with a glass pen using also the Kobe inks, this is how the finished picture looks like. And this is again one of the vertical ones, so one of the ones that will be used for cards and postcards and posters and all kinds of promotional materials. I'm really happy how this came out. It looks better, I think, than the digital sketch that I first did. I really like the texture of the paper and the vivid colors of the inks. Okay, that's it for this video. As always, feel free to comment, share and subscribe, and you can also support me on Patreon. I'm still working on the Inktober drawings to finish my small Hokkaido book, and you can follow this process on Instagram. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye!